Well, hello. I guess you clicked on this video because you want to answer that question, or you've answered that question in the thumbnail. You need archers, and you've said to yourself, yes I do, because as you can see here, you've built your base, so you've made yourself a little purge base ready. You put your little archer posts in, but you ain't got no archers to put on it. Is this going to take a lot of work? Yes, it could do, but today I've got a solution for you for 3 really easy to get archers. The 2 are, if you will, named. The others are kind of named, but not named in the same way, which we'll go into when we get to them. But they are all pretty much guaranteed, easy to get hold of. One of them is a guaranteed spawn in one spot all the time. The other is also a guaranteed spawn, but has 2 locations, one slightly easier to get than the other. And then the third has a few different locations, which we'll get to in this video. So if you want to know how to get them, stick with me. Here we go. Now, for the benefit of these videos, I am once again cloaked and in God mode so that nothing will attack me, but you will have to bear in mind when you go to these areas, the said people that you're after will attempt to attack you, so you'll have to be careful not to kill them if it's the person you're after, or you will have to deal with other creatures or people that are around that you're not after first, so you'll have to come prepared, either with a fighter of some sort that you have that's also geared up and ready for it, with weapon or truncheon, depending on how you want to do it. But this is the first of our locations, and a lot of people will sort of recognise where I am around here. And then if we just look across there, give you a little clue. But if I show you on the map where we are, we're just here in this part of the desert, which is up near an area what's known as the Den, which is just there behind us. And if we come up to here,
hello? Hey! Is somebody out there? I hear someone out there.
you will of course hear those very famous voices which many people know as Neebs Gaming. They're all in there, which has been a big feature in the game for a long time. Sorry guys, I haven't got time right now. We'll leave them chattering away. But if you run up behind where they are, bear in mind I am cloaked so nothing's going to attack me, but these guys will attack you as soon as they see you. But if you pop up onto here, you'll notice this little ledge, so you can get into here, and as you'll see, you'll have somebody sat at the campfire here. You'll have to watch for anybody else if there's anybody back there. You'll have these 2 to contend with here, so you'll have to deal with them. And our first archer that we're after, again, has 2 other people stood with him as well, either side, so you'll have to deal with those. But our first person, or named archer, is Dunaman the Dragoon. As you can see, he's stood right here, so right above the Neebs Gaming door. He will always be here, this will always be him, he's a guaranteed spawn. So as you can tell, he stood here. And he will always be in this position, he's a guaranteed spawn, so if you knocked him out now and then came back later, he'll be back again. So you can knock him out, take him to your wheel. Let's come a bit closer there so you can get a good look of what he actually looks like, so you know this is who you're after. Well, as I say, he's always here, just on top of this little spot where we're now, above the Neebs Gaming door. Really easy to get, so you knock him out, take him to your wheel, and he is your number 1 guaranteed archer, which we'll look at benefits and stats shortly. Right, so our second guaranteed archer spawn is the young lady you can see walking away just there. Now she has 2 spawn locations. This is one of them. And this is Dina Master Huntress, who is a strength based archer. Again, we'll take a look at stats etc. very shortly, but as you can see, she wanders around in this area. There is just over there, I believe, somewhere a big 3 skull rock slide boss that you'll have to watch out for, that if she wanders over a bit too far that way, you could aggro it and end up with a bit of trouble, so be very, very careful when you get in this one. She can be a bit tricky to deal with if you're trying to get her from here, but that's one of 2 spawns where she can be. Another location is if you make your way back across here to this pillar at the bottom of the Great Dam. Now she may not be around at the moment because just at the time of recording this, I think she was recently killed by wolves, but just around here, wandering around, and then along down here and just into this area is another spot where Dina Master Huntress can spawn again. So she has 2 spawn locations. So this one is just here around this pillar at the base of the Great Dam. You can see the wolves there. She could essentially get attacked and killed by those wolves if she's not strong enough. But that's another named archer who is a really easy guaranteed one again. So if you've knocked this one out, you could then go and try and get that one. By the time you've knocked her out, go back down to the desert and do Dunaman again. Come back up here, these will have both respawned. So you've got 2 chances of getting a Dina, and they've 1 guaranteed Dunaman Dragoon. Really easy to get pretty early on, and there's not a lot to deal with around here. If you're smart and you come up from that way, you could try and pull aggro on those wolves and get rid of them, so that if Dina is wandering around here and she wanders towards you this way, she's not going to get killed by any wolves and you'll be able to knock her out and take her as well. Really good. So that is our second named archer. Now we come to our third and final one, which have a name, but they're not named in the same sense as Dina Master Huntress, Dunaman the Dragoon. They are the Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers. Okay, so I'm here at one of the first locations, and those of you who know the game well may well be asking the question, you said Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers, why you stood outside the silver mine? Which you're quite right, I am just here outside the silver mine. But if we head into the silver mine, a few updates ago they didn't only add another skeleton boss in here who looks like the brute from the Unnamed City, which the Unnamed City, again this area, there are a few locations around here where you can get yourself Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers. They're slightly tougher to get hold of because they have a 1 skull mini boss in Silent Legion armor stood with them, so they can be a bit more difficult to get, and you've got to deal with all the skellies and everything else and whatever else there to get to them, so they could take a bit more work. Plus you may have to deal with corruption in there, whereas if you come into the silver mine, you can see at the base of the ramp you've got a Relic Hunter stood here, Relic Hunter Treasure Seeker. They happen to be an archer, which is useful. Apologies about the lighting, I realise it's not very bright in here. But then if you come to this little side room, you've got another one in here, and it could be a fighter or an archer, again stood with a 1 skull named person who are not terribly hard to kill but can be quite tricky, so you'd have to try and kill them as well. You do sometimes have another one that is wandering around. Then also at the other side of these crates you have 2 Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers stood here once again. Now what you could do, if you're lucky enough that you haven't been spotted as you come in, if you have some purple lotus orbs on you, you could throw a couple of those into that area and it won't aggro them, but it will hopefully eventually knock them out, and then that way you can then just run in, grab them with your bindings and then bring them back out of the silver mine to your wheel if you've got a wheel set up just out here. But that is one of the easier locations to get your Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers from, the silver mine. So once again we're just here. So now we're going to head to our next location, which again is a really easy place to get them from. You could also get yourself some Relic Hunter archers from at level 3. I wouldn't go for anything any less, but you can get level 3s in this next area, which are pretty good as well as Purge Base Defenders or even Base Defenders, along with 2 other named Relic Hunter archers, not Relic Hunter Treasure Seeker archers, but Relic Hunter faction archers that can spawn. However, they're not a guaranteed spawn, but if you saw them and got lucky you could knock them out as well. You've got Lisa Road the Longbow, and I'm probably going to butcher the name, Mandugal 100 Arrow I believe it's pronounced, but they're not guaranteed, which is why we haven't mentioned them in this video. But we'll head now to our final location and show you where you can get some more Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers. So here we are then at our final location, and again veteran players to the game will recognise the place behind me, but for those who don't know, we are over here in Sepamaru at the Temple Quarter. So this is the friendly city Most people in here won't attack you unless you attack them. The only areas you will really get attacked is if you head down to that gate, but before you leave that gate, turn either right or left. And also, if you follow it back through from the silver mine entrance, there are other people again. You might want to call them the bandits or the hostiles, as I like to call them. They will attack you, but everybody in here, apart from them, won't attack you unless you attack them. But our little place for our relic hunter treasure seekers that we're after is around the back. So if you head around the back of Conan's bar, and then you go into this door here, this is entering the wine cellar dungeon, but again, you don't have to worry too much about the rest of the enemies in this area, because you're going to be just dealing with relic hunters at the beginning. If you go too far, then you'll have to deal with skellies and everything else. You'll have to get past this guy first. Seth the Drunk, who's your first little miniature boss that you'll have to deal with, but you can knock him out. Well, not knock him out, but kill him. Possibly get his truncheon, Seth's truncheon, which is base game one of the best truncheons in the game. However, if the Headhunter Sorcery event is on, you can get the Tiger truncheon, which has a lot more durability and lasts a lot longer. So that, in theory, is the best knockout tool in the game, shall we say. There's also the Love Tap, which a lot of people say is very good as well, but also legendary, and you've got to try and get that out of the chest, but you have a high chance of this guy dropping you that. Again, apologies about the lighting, but if you come in here with a torch, you'll notice there are two Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers stood here again, so you could knock both of these out. There you go. Now the name pops up, the wine cellar, so you'll have these two here. Don't worry about the ominous introduction music there, you'll get that as you come in here. But then if you follow this down again you'll need a torch ideally in here because it's not super bright. You'll have three people here that you can kind of pull and try and knock out, or kill two and take one. These can either be all archers or two fighters and an archer sometimes, or two archers and a fighter, but they're always stood here. Go around this corner slightly, you've got somebody knelt here, which is typically usually a fighter, again male or female. And then your final little spot in this area is just here, which again is another one skull miniature boss wearing Silent Legion armour. Pretty good to kill again because they could drop a heart of a hero, which can be useful to you, along with two Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers, which again can be fighters or archers. But the beauty of the Relic Hunter Treasure Seeker is they are what people say is the named version of the Relic Hunter faction, and whether they're a fighter or an archer, they come with 20 points in agility, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. But this is another fairly safe bet to come and get your Relic Hunters early on. Probably your safer place out of all of them is the Silver Mine to start with, then this spot, or if you're feeling brave and want to take on the Unnamed City a little bit, you've also got locations dotted around the Unnamed City where you can go and get them from. But with the amount of work involved, the two locations that I've shown you, I would say are probably your best places to come and try and get them. Okay then, so we've got our three people. You've seen where you can get them from. I've got them stood behind me just now so that we can take a look at them, give you an idea of what to expect. Now, their base stats that they come with will always be the same, so the amount of HP, agility or strength they'll come with will always be the same, but bear in mind for each of the individual followers their percentage chances will vary. It won't always be a guaranteed 60% in agility, for example. Sometimes it could be 80, sometimes only 40. It will vary depending on who they are. Don't mind one of my crafters there just looking like she's creeping out for combat or something. The guys are still wandering because of the living settlements feature, so sorry about that. But yeah, these are the three we've got, and if we take a look here, as we can see, we've got Dina Master Huntress. When you take her off the Wheel of Friendship, as we like to call it, this is how she'll appear. Take a look at stats, you can see there the base HP that she comes with at level 0, and you can tell by the numbers on the left there that she is a strength based archer. So you'd want to give her something like Deceto's Voice if you get hold of one, or another strength bow to help boost her up. She's okay even as a fighter if you give her something decent like Momentum, Major's Bane, or Mitra's Justice, one of the other decent sort of maces in the game, but Momentum's your best one. But if you're using her as a base defender, then a strength bow would benefit her, and she comes with a decent amount of points already in. Vitality again, as I say, percentage chances can vary depending on which version of it you get, so you could get really lucky and get a good chance to level in strength and vitality, or you could get poor stats and get really unlucky, but that gives you an idea of how she can come. The next gentleman along, as we say, we've got 2 ladies and 1 gentleman, but if we take a look at his stats, this is Duneman. Again, his stats are all the same, but we can see he's more agility than strength, and has points in grit as opposed to vitality, so he kind of comes out of the box, or off the wheel if you will, a little more squishy than the others. But the beauty of Duneman the Dragoon is, if you've used or played with a Cannibal Brute from the Defari faction before, you'll remember that they level up really quick and really easily and do not take any time at all to level up to level 20. He is just like them, he will level up really quick and does have a chance to have some decent stats. If he doesn't, he's easy to go and get again and you can try again. But as you can see there, pretty good on agility once again, so he would be an agility focused archer, so you'd give him an agility bow if you have a Reach of the Red Mother laying around, which again is from the Red Mother Dragon in the Unnamed City, and is probably one of, if not certainly the best agility bow in the game. You would give him that as a weapon, so that is Duneman the Dragoon, our second and also named guaranteed archer. And then if we take a look at this young lady just for an example, for the Relic Hunter Treasure Seekers, decent HP again as you can see, and these come with various points again, and once again are agility based people once again, so you'd want to give them an agility bow again, ideally of one of the best ones to give them the higher damage. They can, as archers, craft their own basic flint arrows that they will just craft themselves and use of their own free will, but if you want them to have better arrows during a purge or for base defense, depending on what arrows you want to make, snake arrows from the set altar or hardened steel, star metal, depending on whatever you want to make or what you've got, you just pop the arrows in their inventory and they'll use whatever arrows you give them, or if you don't give them any, then obviously they'll kind of create their own and just use those, which are very basic low damage arrows, which if it's just for a standard base defense you probably won't worry too much for, but for a purge base you certainly want to give them 2 or 3 stacks of really good high damage arrows to tie in with the bow that they've got. But again, Relic Hunter Treasure Seeker, agility focused, again varying percentages to what they can get, so you might get a really bad one or you might get a really good one if you get lucky, but plenty of spaces where you can go and get them again as you've seen. So that is their base stats and how they look, and we've made some suggestions of weapons to give them. But what do you give them armor wise? Now you have a few options. You could stick them all in health gain armor so they get a bit of health. Ideally for agility based people, so our Relic Hunter and Duneman would be better suited with agility focused armor if you want to give them a bit more of a boost to agility. And you would always want to make sure, especially even though they're a base defender or a purge defender and they're up a few levels high, they can still get hit by archers or other things that are getting thrown, so you want to give them heavy armor. You'd never really put followers in light or medium armor. You could illusion it to look like light or medium armor if that's what you like for an armor style, but I would always recommend, even for fighters, that you put them in heavy armor. So one set you could use for your agility archer people to give them an agility boost is the Stygian soldier armor, which is a base game armor that you can craft on your armorer's bench, and if you craft it with a shield right armor, that will give them the best stats to it, because not only do you get the benefit of it being a tier 4 armorer, but you'd also get the additional armor value with it being the shield right armorer, and it would just give them some high defense but also a little boost to agility. Yes, you could use perfected heavy if you like, because again, good high armor value, but you don't really need it if they're just a base defender. Stygian Soldier will definitely do it, but it'll also give them, as I say, a boost to agility. Now, someone like Dina is a little bit different because she's strength based again. You want to use heavy armor. You could put her just in some health booster if you like, or if you want to, again, boost her melee damage as it is, but technically she's an archer, so it's strength, so she's a strength based archer. You could use the ultimate follower setup that a lot of people use, which is Redeemed Legion helmet, the Void Forge heavy chest piece for the chest, Godbreaker grips for the hands, and then your choice of legs and feet, which could be Pictish War Chief, Tavern Guard if you've got that are DLCs or Battle Pass items, or you could use the Champion's legs if you like to use those because they boost strength again, and then for your boots you'd use whatever your basic ones are that you can get off that boost strength again, or you could use the boots from the perfected heavy set if you've learnt that from your journey steps again, along with the perfected heavy legs for that. But again, then you'd need to use an armor style to make it look more cohesive to fit in with your unit, because otherwise, as you've seen in my previous videos, it can just look a bit of a mess with all those random different pieces on. But that is typically what you want to do with particular followers, is take a real look at their stats and what they're more heavily invested into, and build on that with the armor and weapons that you give them, so that you can get the highest percentage out of them. So if they're a strength based archer, you want to focus on strength. If they're agility based, always focus on agility to get the maximum out of them. So that's just 3 that I've taken a look at for you of what I would go for and what I would recommend if you want to get hold of them quite easily. As I say, Dina has 2 potential spawn locations that are always guaranteed, provided nobody's built in that area. Duneman is always guaranteed up there at the den. Obviously a bit of a longer wait for him, you'd have to kill him and then go back if you're on official. Is it 15-20 minutes I think it is later to get him again, or if it's been reduced slightly on a community server it'd be a bit less time. And then you've got a few areas you can go out and focus farm relic hunter archers even, because there's a lot more of them you could get. Just pop yourself a wheel down in your location where you're farming those particular followers, and then you can tame them up quick and easy, get them back to base, get them kitted up, and get them put on your little archer stands. And just like any other archer that you can get in the game, they'll defend your base or they'll defend your purge base, depending on what you're looking at doing. And so there we have it then, guys, just another one there for you. Hope you found that one interesting, hope you found it helpful. That's just my little take on an easy way to get yourself some guaranteed archers fairly early on in the game. You wouldn't do this too early because they are higher tier people, so they're going to hit a little harder when you're trying to get them, so just do bear that in mind. But they're pretty much guaranteed named archers. As I say, if you're going through Seppa Maru, keep an eye out at all of the archer spawn locations throughout Seppa Maru, because both Mandergal 100 Arrow and Lisa Longbow have the chance to spawn at any of those locations. Not guaranteed, obviously, but you could get lucky and get 2 of the same one spawning at the same time, or you could get 1 of each, or just 1 of them, so keep an eye out when you're running through. But Dinnerman the Dragoon is guaranteed up at the den, and Dina Master Huntress has her 2 guaranteed spots up there in the Highlands. So once again, I hope you found this useful, I hope you found it helpful. If you did, do me a huge favour, leave a like, leave your questions and your comments down below, consider subscribing for more if you haven't already. So many people watch these videos that watch my content but still aren't subscribed. You must enjoy it if you keep coming back, so why not consider subscribing? It's free for you to do, just tells me that you enjoy my content and helps me out a lot to grow the channel. Try catch us on a Friday night, 7 PM UK time, for a couple of hours for a stream. Come say hi, ask your questions there. And if I don't see you then, I'll hopefully see you in the next video. So for now, happy hunting. See you all soon. Bye for now.